fourth game of the EUS Challenger Series number 10 Grand Finals between Copenhagen Wolves and Smart People. Smart People picking up the last game, actually very confidently with their double assassination team composition, and as a result, Kha'Zix has been banned out. I'm Pulse, I'm joined once again by Metas. How's it going?
It's going great. I am hyped about this game, Pulse. I think a lot of people were not expecting us to be in this position in the fourth game, myself included. So the fact that we're here and the fact that Smart People won so convincingly there, you have to say it has the potential to go down to that fifth and final game if they rinse and repeat. And definitely warranted with that Kha'Zix ban, because you have to remember that Atratos was the first blood recipient. He died, he lost his double buffs, then he went back into lane and picked them back up again. So he had a really shaky start, but he finished strong.
Yeah, incredibly strong indeed, and the fact he had so many kills meant he could build tanky and still do damage, and he could do everything. And there was no counterplay to Kha'Zix in that position. He was just too far ahead. So Kha'Zix, of course, warranting that ban, and in fact, Lee Sin has not been banned out, and Atratus immediately picking that one up. I'd be surprised if they put that in lane, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. It could be in the jungle, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were just trying to take that away from Shook. They already banned out Evelyn, which, again, one of Shook's champions, so also taking out the Lee Sin away from him.
Yeah, it's very true. Like, Shook is renowned as one of the best Lee Sins in Europe right now, in jungle, so leaving that open, you definitely want to pick that one away, and that is going to leave the likes of Thresh up. So we are going to have Thresh being locked in once again here, Pulse, and why the hell not? He is one of the best supports in the game right now. Interestingly enough, have we seen a Nami pick up thus far in this best of 5?
I'm pretty sure we have, but because I have a fish memory, then I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure we have, and Nami hasn't been banned out, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see this coming out from Smart People. Smart People, though, several times have favoured the Sona pickup over the likes of Thresh and Nami, so it might just be a fact that they're more comfortable with the champion. They like the fact that Cristiano is that big play-making ultimate, but no supports have actually come out just yet from Smart People, so we'll see what they bring to the table. But what they have locked in for sure is the Twitch and the Malphite.
Yeah, Twitch was pretty damn strong in those team fights for Samox, and I'm very interested to see as well if Copenhagen Wolves are going to go Vladimir again on Youngbuck, because that was a bit of a disaster for Youngbuck at top lane. Fair enough, he was camped pretty aggressively from Atratos at the top lane alongside Jerome, but definitely not the greatest of games for him, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they switch it up.
Yeah, and they are hovering over different mid picks. Could definitely be the Ahri, and again, not very surprising at all. But Shook has locked in the Jarvan, and again, another aggressive early ganking jungler, which Shook is renowned for doing, and also great at counter jungling, as we've seen several times in the current series. And Zed also picked out as well. So maybe Wolves saw the composition that they ran last time and like, well, we'll actually play you at the same game, and we'll also bring some assassins out. And so far, Smart People have brought very different compositions every single game, and I'm interested to see if they swap it up again. It looks like they might do, but with these last two picks, time will only tell. But we do have Caitlyn locked in.
So Caitlyn is going to be picked up for Reckless. That's quite interesting because, you know, Caitlyn is good against Twitch in the sense that she has long range and can kind of harass him in the lane. But if you're going for compositions, Reckless is a very strong Varus player. Varus and Thresh work phenomenally well together in team fights, especially when you conjunct them along with Jarvan. So interesting to see that Reckless is going for more of a harassment-based, in-your-face pushing the lane champion rather than one that has that AoE CC that we all fear to play against.
Yeah, it's an interesting pickup, but we'll see what they pick out last for Wolves and see what they round it out with. But we do have Lulu picked up, so that's not Sona and that's not Nami at all, so a very different support in general, and it will give them extra poke, but it gives them a little bit of extra control on that lane against the Caitlyn and Thresh pickup. So that, you know, it definitely makes sense, and with Zyra being off the cards, Lulu is probably the next best thing. Ahri also coming out for the mid lane, so again, a different composition.
Lulu is just flat out great with high engaged champions or AD carries that don't have an escape and are quite vulnerable. So she has a choice here that Lulu can ult Wild Growth Twitch while he's spraying and praying, which just allows him to crush through everybody, or you could get a double knock-up in effect when the Unstoppable Force goes in from Jerome and then the Wild Growth on top of him. So it's just incredible amounts of initiation or that kind of passive play to keep your AD carry or your Ahri alive in those team fights. So Lulu is a jack of all trades champion, and very interested to see how this one plays out. And of course, Riddle is going to be using her.
Yeah, the only concern right now is that smart people are going for a more team fight centric composition, and as we've seen before, team fights just don't work out, even if they're in the better scenario, even if they start the team fight off on their own terms and have Wolves react to them, and Wolves just mechanically always win, or not always win, but 95% win those team fights. This is interesting. It's a declaration of intent, as you like to say, Messers, and I want it to work, but last time, because it was very all in, I also have to feel maybe they should just again go with a very all in composition.
Yeah, it's very true. And you look at the side of Copenhagen Wolves here, they've got a massive amounts of disruption with the Zac attack, jumping in with the Let's Bounce. Then Jarvan closing people out with the Cataclysm, Thresh Box. And this is going to allow Zed to just go ham on anybody he so chooses. But again, Lulu is a nice little counter to Zed, because if he pops off his death mark on the likes of Twitch or Ahri, Wild Growth's going to go on. And it's similar to an intervention in the sense that it's just not going to pop through that. So very interesting mind games between these two teams.
Indeed, we are going to jump to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we will be in the fourth game between Copenhagen Wolves and Smart People for the grand final of the Challenger Series number 10. Stay tuned.
Hello once again, viewers. Welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of the grand finale of EUS Challenger Series number 10. I'm Ed, joined by Pulse, and we are right into the action of game number 4. Quite curious here, Pulse. Do you think an invade is on the cards? Because both these teams have got a fairly nice level 1.
They do indeed, and I think that might just cancel it out because they've just both split up amongst their jungles and blocked all the exits off. Pink has gone down onto Exeter, so they have currently seen him, and Shuriken goes over the wall just to acknowledge that the Exeter knows they're there as well. So, yeah, it looks like the level 1 compositions will just cancel each other out. I'm interested in seeing how the early game will go and whether they'll go for swap-ups as well, because we've said that Caitlyn and Fresh is going to be extremely strong, but you also mentioned that Lulu kind of beats her at her own game in terms of, like, poke. But I said there's not going to be an invade, but there's going to be a kind of pseudo-invade, just kind of placing down the ward just so that you have the extra knowledge of where Shook's going to be about the jungle in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, anybody in solo queue that's ever played against a good Lulu knows how infuriating they are. They're going to harass you with Glitterlance to a Q and constantly spam that. And when you take into consideration that Glitterlance is going to slow you down, and then afterwards Twitch can throw his Venom Cask, his W, which slows you down as well, that's going to open up a lot of auto attacks and then the expunge afterwards. So this is quite a dangerous lane for Reckless if the synergy is there between Samux and Riddle. Obviously, only time's going to tell. But again, we have a standard opening, no lane switch-ups. I believe that's been the case for the majority of these games.
Yeah, it has indeed, and they will just be facing up against each other. Lulu, of course, does kind of suffer in terms of mana pool, in her mana pool, and she's kind of weaker versus sustain, sorting and supplying some of that information to me. And Youngbuck versus Jerome in that top lane. And honestly, I don't expect too much to happen in top lane. It's very much like the Shen matchup, where they're just two tanky bruisers and neither of them do enough damage to push each other out, so they just kind of farm for the entirety of the laning phase.
Yeah, it's like two rocks just gradually eroding each other over centuries. Yeah. Like, nothing is going to happen unless there is jungle intervention from Lee Sin or Jarvan. Now, we were both questioning, in fact, hold the thought, because Unlimited is doing a lot of harassment here to Riddle, and Samux took a few auto attacks to the face, courtesy of Reckless. So even though we're talking about this harassment-based kind of support in terms of Lulu, they have to wait until they're a few more levels up. They can't afford to go at level 1 against Thresh and Caitlyn. That's just going to end badly for them. And speaking of ending badly, potentially Youngbuck's life could be ending here, as Arthrotos is very patiently waiting in this bush, has the double buffs as well. The only downside is that Elastic Slingshot has been already picked up, and he is going to get away, and also, of course, had his passive regardless.
Yeah, it was an interesting gank considering he did have the Cell Division passive as well, but I guess Arthrotos maybe looking to push down the tower, takes the tower shot in return, and maybe Jerome's just looking to go back very early, and in fact that is the case, so he's just looking to push out the lane. Bit of damage onto Zac on the side, but mainly just to allow him to get out there, but meanwhile in the mid, Exeter finds himself caught by Shook with a flag drag coming in. Exeter still chasing off as well, already got the contempt for the weak popped, but the Shuriken will pick up first blood.
For all of the lack of possibilities of a first blood at top lane, mid really just has the complete opposite. Yep. You've got two hyper-aggressive champions that are capable of bursting each other in Zed and Ari. And as we mentioned before, jungle intervention, very, very strong. A big part to place into that formula. So Shook is going to take that first blood for Zed and then go ahead and steal away these double golems, maybe even thinking about putting some pressure at bot lane, but instead flagging and dragging back over again. Very stylish, and Arthrotos is like, oh god damn it, I just lost my big golem.
Yes indeed, but he might also go for the gank down the bot lane. Ping goes onto him, but that was from his own team. And Shook also has to be very aware of Lee, because he can probably outtrade him in a protracted engagement. But meanwhile, mid goes for the second gank onto Exeter. Flash comes down this time round. Charm actually lands some damage in return with Foxfires. But meanwhile, bot lane going to chime into that, because the hook lands onto Samux, but they don't actually choose for the engagement to happen. Arthrotos doesn't get there quite in time to make them commit.
Yeah, and this is the problem with Lee Sin ganking this particular lane, is they do have CC in terms of slows, but it's not hard CC, it's not a stun, it's not a death sentence coming in from Unlimited. So it's going to have to be well played, a lot of synergy at this bot lane for Lee Sin to get in contention and to make plays happen. Whereas you look at the opposite side, if the Dark Passage comes out for Jarvan, then the death sentence lands, that is like a cast iron big time gank coming down. It's very difficult to get out of that one. So again, Arthrotos is trying his best, but you have to feel that Jarvan's going to come out best here.
Yeah, so Achutos, we were, well, not concerned, but we were interested in seeing, if he's going to do well as the league, because it was obviously to take it away from Shook, but this is also his second most played champion in solo queue. 60% win rate in Challenger is nothing to sniff at all, so we'll see what he can do in this game. Of course, it was taking it away from Shook along with the Evelyn ban out. And so far has put down a little bit of aggression, but not as much as you would kind of want, because Lee Sin, of course, has kind of scaled off and becomes more of a utility bot when you get into the later mid and latter parts of the game. So really looking for the early game to put down the damage and make these lanes go in his favour.
Yeah, I think it's just the case that Lee Sin is a perfectly fine champion, very much viable in the right hands, and Achutos is clearly a very good Lee Sin player, but you look at the lanes that he's ganking for, with the exception of maybe mid with the charm landing, top doesn't really have any chance of landing a kill on Zac until the Unstoppable Force is up, and even then it's going to be very difficult. So it's a case for Lee Sin where it's just kind of difficult for him, Pulse, to make big plays occur. I feel that getting into the mid game is maybe where he can start to shine.
Yeah, he doesn't have amazing ganking potential in these lanes. Like, they're not good gank lanes. Shook looking for a gank once again on Exeter though, and definitely that is a good gank lane with Deathmark coming in. Spirit Rush has been popped. Does have another charge on that as well, if he needs to get out. And Achutos now comes in as well. Lands the resonating strike. Shook locks up Exeter. Nowhere to run, completely out of mana. Achutos comes in to try and save his ally. Gets the safeguard down. One more auto attack finishes the deal. Meanwhile, got Jerome coming in with the teleport. Shook flashes over the wall. Has been revealed by Tempest, but doesn't choose to pursue.
But wow, man, that was a very belated teleport pulse. The fight was already over. Ari was dead when that teleport came in, so fair enough. The idea was there from Jerome and he has the Unstoppable Force, but that needed to be 5-10 seconds earlier, I have to feel, and in doing so, he's left his top tower very vulnerable. So Youngbuck is going to oblige and just push this one as hard as he can and then go back.
Yeah, meanwhile, bot though, Samix drops very low. Barrier has been popped, and Reckless also just doing so much damage. The early game poke is just really showing through, and Samix is actually staying in. This is really dangerous. Reckless hits level 6 incredibly shortly after this wave, in fact. Has to be careful because Rhino also gets caught by the depths and straight into the flame. Flash comes down. Reckless just praying that he gets, in fact, the mana for his ultimate. Another 15, and both of them will be backing off. They don't have the vision on it, and kind of praying that they have clairvoyance.
That was really ballsy from Rydell. Yeah. Going in like that. I was amazed he actually went for that play, but yeah, they narrowly escaped there, having to actually pop off the flash. Samix's flash is still up and available, but he hasn't hit level 6 yet, so Spray and Pray is not there for him, and he's still got about a third of a level to go before he has to Spray and Pray at his disposal. So coming back into this lane, Reckless is probably going to look to push very aggressively. BF Sword compared to a Vampiric Scepter Longsword, pretty big difference, as is the CS. Have a look at that CS differential. Let's Bounce it just gone on Jerome, but this could be the wrong place at the wrong time for him, because Achutos is coming in from the side. Oh, beautiful mechanics! Wow. They kick him out of the elastic slingshot, but is it going to be enough? Because here comes Shook from the side. This actually could backfire once again. They've picked up the kill on Zac, fair enough. Nice safeguard away, and the flash from Jerome as well, and they are going to get out this one, but I cannot stress enough how awesome that Dragon's Rage was to kick him out of the elastic slingshot. Now Exeter's coming under a lot of attack, but he's going to be able to just Spirit Rush away.
And then bot lane, Unlimited lands the Depth Sensors medium from the Flay. Box lands as well. Spray and Pray gets popped by Samix, moving himself onto Reckless. He can't trade against that brute force, and he is currently at max stacks of those poison stacks as well. So much action going on all over the board, Messers, and yeah, the Dragon's Rage. It was a split-second flash straight into Dragon's Rage, but meanwhile in the mid lane, Exeter again dropping low. Exeter putting down the hurt, and Contempt for the Weak came out as well in the form of the passive. He wasn't able to claim the kill.
Oh man, those mechanics were so good. Now bot lane is just end-to-end stuff, but again, Achutos is in the mix. Unlimited will be going down. So talking about that CS differential doesn't matter if your jungle gets involved and does manage to pick up a kill. Ace in the Hole coming out is not going to pick up the kill, but it is going to do enough to get Samix low and feel like potentially he's not strong enough, but he's going right back in. That's the Wild Growth coming out. He's been slowed a couple times from the Venom cast. Here comes Lee Sin from the side, and the Expunge is used, but it's not going to be enough damage. And in mid, once again, Jarvan and Zed are going to pick up the kill on Ari. My god, they are not getting any respite this game.
No, back-to-back action, and looks like another gang down the bot lane. Atrotos goes deep. So low though, Rydal and Samex. He has stealthed up, juking into the brush. Looks to pick up the kill on Reckless, jukes away. Close to his team, he gets out safe, and Samex also forces the flash. And I guess he just went too close to the fire once again. 3-for-0 trade, and they could potentially get onto the Drake as well.
I have to question the communication there from smart people though, because Ari died around the raids. So they must have known it wasn't a great deal of difference, or distance I should say, to get down from Wraith to bot lane. And Lee Sin went in, Dragons raged Caitlyn back towards her team, back to Sanctuary as the case may be. And that was just a colossal failure there for smart people. Not only do they lose 3 players, but they lose the Drake as well.
Yeah, the problem with smart people right now is we've already mentioned they don't have great gank lanes, and that also exacerbates the problem as they have kind of weaker laning phases as well. And because they also have strong laning phases coming in from Wolves, they have Reckless and Fresh there, and also Zed has the assassination potential on Ari, and in top lane, I mean, nothing's going to happen anyway, but they can't win those laning phases, and the best they can do is be really defensive. And honestly, I don't think they've been defensive enough, because we've said that, well, in the last game, it was more because of the assassins, but they still need to get themselves into the mid game, so at least they can do maneuvers like split pushing, and maybe they can go for the team fight if they find themselves in the right position. But this is the second time now that they haven't found themselves out of laning phase before they get completely shut down. Samex actually pops himself into his stealth, and Bot comes down as well. Unlimited drops extremely low, but Dark Passage comes out straight to the Cataclysm. Atrotos looking for the counter gank though. Teleport now coming in right on the money from Malphite. Immediately steps into the trap though. Atrotos follows after Shook. Meanwhile, Reckless falls to the expunge. Shook trying his best to get out of dodge. 4 seconds left on the banner, looking for the Flagger drag, but Atrotos hot in pursuit. Has his Sonic Wave on another second cooldown. Extra from the side as well. Flash over the wall to seal the deal and pick up the kill. And Drum turns up and kind of lackluster, but did secure another kill himself. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Exler finds himself Atrotos and Drum. Good Living Shadow gets himself away, and again, all-out action.
That was an interesting heat-seeking resonating strike from Lee Sin to pick up the kill on Shook there, almost going backwards, but I think, you know, screw facepalm. I'm pretty sure Jerome face-desked when he teleported onto that ward, and there just happened to be a trap there. He's like, are you guys serious? But still, they picked up a double kill. They did get a couple kills there, so it's looking quite nice for them in that little exchange. Still, they do find themselves behind 2.2k, and it's kind of a role reversal. Last time, Kassadin, Exter was doing a great job in mid. This time, 0 and 3. So he's not having that same kind of dominance. He's not having that same presence on the map. He's not that scary Ari just yet with just the Fiendish Codex.
Yeah, so right now, they just need to farm up. They need to make sure they get to a stage where they can get out of the laning phase, because they have comparably weaker laning phase. So as long as they get into the mid game, as long as they get themselves to a point where they can utilize the composition, they'll be good to go. And they have slightly caught up in the form of the bot ganks, so they are currently 4 and 5. No towers have gone down just yet, but Wolves are edging ahead in global gold, so only time will tell how the rest of this pans out.
Yeah, there's a big difference this time for Reckless though. Last time he was definitely feeling the pinch Ezreal against Twitch. This time he is out CSing fairly comfortably, 116 to 95. So he's looking pretty good thus far. He has died 1 time, but he has picked up a kill as well. The question is, how is Twitch going to escalate? Because remember, last time as well, Twitch didn't have a great laning phase. It was those team fights, when Malphite was going in, when Kassadin and Kha'Zix were jumping in, when Twitch would mop up the pieces. So, he does have the capability, Samex, of grabbing himself back into a game that's not looking too good for him, but still doesn't have that Blade of the Ruined King, and he desperately needs that. That's a core item on Twitch.
Yeah, for sure. Just trying to get those stacks up and ultimately use the expunge. Again, in mid lane, the Living Shadow actually gets pops and the Deathbot comes out. And, well, it was just a matter of time to just kind of walk around in circles until he died. Atrotos coming around the corner as well to try and stop this push from coming in. Shook comes around from the side. Flag Drag lands into the Cataclysm. Picks up the unstoppable killing spree. 2 for 0. And now Zed is looking incredibly scary.
5 and 0 overall with about 1.5k gold in his back pocket, so that is just scary, scary stuff right now. And Excel is going to be looking to actually push this secondary mid-tower hard with Shook. Meanwhile, at bot lane, Box was just used from Unlimited to try and keep his AD carry alive. Spray and Pray was also utilized from Samox, but they have picked up that secondary mid-tower. And now that's going to spell danger for bot lane, with very, very little presence or any real vision over their own jungle. Twitch and Lulu are going to constantly have that in the back of their mind, thinking, how long until Shook comes down? How long until Exile comes down? The answer, right now. Riddle is going to pop off the wild growth, stopping off the flag and drag, but just delaying the inevitable. In fact, is it? Because suddenly, out of nowhere, a wild Jerome and Ultradose appear. That is a kill for Samox. Unlimited is fairly low, but he should be able to get back. So nice little counter gank coming in, realizing the danger was on the table, making big plays. Unstoppable Force comes in, and that is going to be a second kill at bot lane.
Yeah, 2-0. Wasn't expecting another kill to come out, but Shook and Reckless forced to back off. They can't defend this turret in fear of another dive coming out, and 3 towers at 0 right now. Recall disrupted by Atratos, meaning that it will buy us some extra time, maybe to make another push onto the next turret. And we do have Shook coming back in. There's no one else because the rest of the people are in the death chamber. We're currently 3-1. They do need to reclaim some more objectives, but with Caitlyn and Zed also being back on the field, then you really can't do too much about it. So far though, Wolves are still ahead with those global objectives, but smart people are definitely not out of it just yet.
It's very true, and a big shutdown as well from Twitch, which is important to note. Did get the shutdown on Exile Zed. That is 500 gold. So Blade of the Ruined King has been finished finally from Twitch, and also adding a dagger to his arsenal. So it's going to be coming back quite strong. In the meantime, Drake is respawned, so next fight you have to feel Pulse is going to feature the Drake, and around the Drake pit, Zac is coming in last, and so is Ari. So any second now, all hell could break loose.
Yeah, they are definitely starting at Atratos, maybe looking to get this steal off. He could definitely get in there with the Q and look for the steal, and doesn't in fact commit to it. And he probably could have done it. There were wards over the wall if he wanted to go in for the steal, and Reckless immediately gets caught by the Sonic Wave, but again doesn't choose to engage. The rest of his team too far back, and it's really a question of whether smart people are stronger in their fight, because even, well, we've seen it before, mechanically Copenhagen Wolves do always seem to win.
Yeah, I think some of that was down to the fact that Atratos was a level behind Jarvan, so the smite would have been more powerful, but you do have the high engage coming in. Atratos is in the front line. Wild Growth has been utilized. Unstoppable Force will land on both Exile and Shook, but they don't have enough follow-up damage just yet. Their AD carry is going in a 1-versus-1 against Reckless. Has just been brought back into contention from Thresh. They're turning the tide. Ace in the hole comes out, and that will be a 1-for-1 trade. The Poison's finishing off. Turning back up the top lane though. This action has not quite finished just yet. Exile is trying his best to survive, but Riddle is going to come in and clean that one up. Elastic slingshot going out there. Charm just about missing, and they will pull themselves out of danger. So 2 for 3 trade globally, Pulse. Wow.
Yeah, Wolves dropping like flies in that last trade, and Ari just managed to land all her skills on essentially everyone, and it quickly turns into a cat and mouse game. Jerome pushing up the top lane. Looks like they are looking to take another turret, and this is really good because again it will clean up the global advantage in terms of gold. Currently 4k behind, but with Unlimited and Young Buck there to defend, to see what they can do about it. Restoration Drake comes down. Caster minion definitely is locked up and killed by the turret. Exeter putting some more damage out, and they have indeed, with 2 of those players, stymied the push. With Jarvan and Caitlyn also heading up, they might even look to hang on and potentially bait this out, but I think smart people are a little too wise for that.
You know, obviously you were casting the first 2 games with Spuddington, Pulse, and is there any difference in the game style from smart people? Because this is, again, a much closer game than game 1 and 2 were. Is it a case that you think they just built up their confidence and they feel like can hang right now with... This is strange. Sorry, I've just interrupted myself because Atrados... Okay, he's DC'd. So that's nice sportsmanship from XR, realizing it was a DC and he didn't finish off the kill.
Yeah, Exeter started, and then because Lee Sin just carried on auto-attacking minions, he was like, something's probably wrong here, and the pause timer comes in, and actually really good sportsmanship, very nice to see. And because, of course, I mean, they are playing for prize money, they could have easily just picked up the kill, gotten themselves ahead. But, yep, again, we will be jumping into the pause, so I think we'll take a look at some of these item builds. So, currently 0 and 4 from Ari, but still picking up the Death by Grass, has the ability to completely assassinate and take out a target. On the flip side, though, you've also got Zed, who is 6-2, picking up the Blazed Rune King, and this is essentially a core item for Zed, because it synergizes with his ultimate. The damage on that is also multiplied with the Death Mark, so it obviously makes sense to pick that up either first or second, maybe throwing in a Brutalizer there as well, which is exactly what Exel has done.
Yes, I remember the question I was going to ask you with my goldfish memory before
yes.
completely blew my mind. Is there any kind of tangible difference from shoutcasting the first two games compared to these next two games between smart people then and now? Because these have been closer games. Of course, they won game 3. Game 4 is neck and neck right now. There's about a 4K difference, but 20 minutes, it's not necessarily a game-changing difference. Is there anything that you're noticing, Pulse?
They're definitely picking their fights better, because in the first game, every time there was an opportunity to go for a fight, they would go for a fight. In the second game, they kind of just like didn't contest any of the Drakes at all, and then in the third game they started contesting them, looking for the steals and being actually the aggressors. So they have definitely changed their play style and definitely changed their compositions. As I said, the wildly different compositions, varying from game to game. So very versatile team. It's not like a one-trick pony, and also very difficult to read as well for Copenhagen Wolves. It's like they don't exactly know what they're going to bring out next. So yes, they are changing how they're playing these games. Alex, my fan of support, the Death Mark comes in. So much damage coming out. And he has currently stepped, but look at the damage coming out. He's sub 10 HP and actually gets out of there. And Zed must be so unhappy he doesn't have a pink ward with him right now.
That's the rat, ladies and gents. You can never count him as a certain death. That being said, Reckless is coming out from the corner, and a massive anti-climax. And yeah, just rubs salt on the ruins, gets headshotted down. So that is a boom headshot moment. So Excel's probably not feeling as bad right about now, and Samax is probably face-palming that he didn't keep running back.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that far into your territory, you kind of expect that to be okay, but 20 minutes into the game and well into the roaming phase, definitely not safe at all. Reckless now sieging this tower, very good at sieging, looking like the insect maneuver though. Living Shadow comes out, a bit too preemptive on the Dragon's Raid. Box comes down from Unlimited as well, in with Youngboy, splitting up the entire team of smart people. It's one kill to go down in with another as well, onto Exo, 1-for-1 trade. And great luck from Jerome with the ace in the hole. Exo now coming in from the backside, but very tentative about getting into the action. Lee Sin looking to recall. Death Sentence comes down but doesn't connect with anyone. Can't pick up any more kills. Twitch now coming back into it. They need to kind of get away from the situation very quickly, because it could be clean up on aisle 3. Jerome looking to interrupt the recalls, but they will in fact back on off.
There's a really interesting mechanic that happened there, Paul. I'm not sure if you caught it, but Lee Sin Dragon's Raged exiled backwards towards the tower as the wild growth came out from Lulu. So instead of him being kicked across, he got kicked and knocked in the air. So it's effectively just a knock-up, which means he took no tower damage. I don't know if that was planned from the team of smart people or if it was just a mistake and a mishap, but in doing so it kind of saved Zed for a few more seconds. So a bit of an interesting turnaround there. Regardless, lots and lots of action in this game, Pulse, and you know, it's still anybody's game. It's so close to call.
Yeah, I'd probably say it's a miscommunication in the metas, because if they chained their CC, and then like Dragon's Rage and then knocked up with Rydell, then the Living Shadow would have gone off the activation time, and he wouldn't have been able to use the Living Shadow to get out of dodge, which he did right there, because they used both their CC at the same time. Another DC comes in from Rydell, and it just looks like it's just not smart people's game in terms of keeping people in the game.
Yeah, and this is always, you know, going to break up the momentum. They did just come off the back of that third game victory, so want to keep that momentum going, want to keep the adrenaline pumping through the veins there. And when this happens twice to Ultratos and now I think it was Rydell that you said, it's just going to, you know, be a bit of a slap in the face. But that being said, Pulse, this does give us a bit of a kind of opportunity to talk over the game and how it's going thus far. So in terms of build, is there anything that's striking out to you that's odd or potentially just very, very strong?
Nothing really completely odd. Zach's gone for the Spirit Visage, which makes sense. It will be against the large magic damage coming from Jerome and Exeter, which is all very bursty. And the Blade of Rune King from Caitlyn as well, just for the kiting potential. It looks like the Infinity Edge next, and all very standard. I mean, generally you like to go for the Blade of Rune King, and then you pick up the Infinity Edge, because Blade of Rune King gives you the attack speed, and it gives you the lifesteal, and then Infinity Edge gives you the damage. So in terms of multiplication, because AD carry items, what they do is they're multiplicative. Because AP carry items, they're additive. So you get extra damage per item, whereas the others multiply together to increase the damage. That's why when you hit 3 and 4 item builds, the damage kind of multiplies massively because they're all multiplying with each other.
See, I knew he was good for something, ladies and gents. This guy is a maths genius. I don't know what you just said, but it sounded smart.
Outstanding. That's what I aim for.
Yeah, so +1 to you. That being said, I'm not exactly the most intelligent of people in the world, but either way, we don't have any kind of news on what is happening so far, just the DC from Jerome. So fingers crossed we'll be back into this game very soon. But 4-1 towers, that's going to equate into, what, a 5.5k gold lead or thereabouts. So you're going to say that thus far in the game, Copenhagen Wolves are definitely edging ahead, but it's still very close to call here, Pulse. And again, with the team composition that smart people are running, it just takes that one good initiation, and this game could turn on its head.
Yeah, for sure, and we're not quite sure how long this is going to take, so if you have any questions in chat, feel free to throw them at us, and we'll try our best to answer them. And Nightbot is extremely harsh. Take that, you dirty rat. Stop spamming letters. Wow.
Take that, you dirty rat.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Quite toxic, incredibly toxic. So again, if you have any questions, we will do our best to answer them. And people just kind of talking about Reckless at the moment, and of course he will be jumping into the team with Fnatic when he turns 17. I think that's in around a month or maybe less than that now, and in fact, we have the reconnect from Rydell, so we should be jumping back into the action incredibly shortly.
I believe he turns 17 in September, so that is in a month.
Right, yeah.
And then he will be joining Fnatic. Whether he'll be eligible or not for World Finals, I am not honestly sure right now. Definitely interested to find out myself, but it's kind of synonymous with Copenhagen Wolves, right? Everyone looks at Reckless. The guy is a phenomenal AD carry. He gets a lot of the plaudits, but I think it's important to note as well, specifically to Nightpulse, that it hasn't always been him carrying. Especially in the first couple of games, it was his team that were definitely carrying him along, and speaking of which, he's just been caught horribly out of position from Samox. I don't think there's a burst damage there. Blade of the Rune King was used, and the Dark Passage comes out as well. So Spray and Pray is down for the next, how long? About 100 seconds.
Yeah, if Expunge was used there, that might have picked up the kill, though the shielding probably was enough to keep him alive anyway. But yeah, in the first 2 games, it was really down to the rest of his team to carry him through and get into that late game. He got the kills as a result of his team feeding it to him, but Atratos found himself caught in the top lane. Exeler follows up, Flag drag over the wall, and surely will fall, you know, after a prolonged chase. 1-0, and again, another advantage going to Copenhagen Wolves, and see if they can capitalize on this pick.
Well, with the jungler being down for 30 seconds, they could very well do so, and Youngbuck feeling the heat is just be jumping head on in. Knowing that Shook and Unlimited were coming around from the corner, let's bounce a spot as well. The wild growth on Exeter just to save his life. In doing so, Samox is caught in a very precarious position in the middle of all 3 Copenhagen Wolves players, and that's not an ideal position for your AD carry to be in, especially when the Spray and Pray is on cooldown. So that's going to be another kill going into the hands of Copenhagen Wolves, and Caitlyn didn't even have to be close. And meanwhile, Exile's like, okay, I'll just pick up that second tower at top lane.
Yeah, objective after objective. Now moving on to the Drake as well. Just picking up these objectives left, right, and centre. Again, Exler could find himself caught, but Living Shadow just pops himself over the wall. And the team fighting potential was incredibly strong. They're not going to go ahead and go back. In fact, 1,000 gold on 3 of the players, so it makes a lot of sense to do so. And honestly, it's just waiting for Copenhagen Wolves to control the pace of the game. They are in the driver's seat, they can dictate the pace of the game, and if they want a team fight to happen, they can probably make it happen, because the bot tower is exposed, all the other inner turrets are currently down for smart people, so it's waiting on Wolves' next move.
Yeah, and it's what we're talking about in Champion Select as well. There's just so much disruption from the side of Copenhagen Wolves. You've got the Flag and Drag coming in one side, the Elastic Slingshot plus Let's Bounce on the other, and then if you somehow manage to get past both of those huge Goliaths, there's the Thresh box just in your face, and all your movement speed ceases to be. So Reckless is going to be able to dart around the sides and just kind of shake and bake and worm his way to victory. So it's a very scary kind of composition to go up against. And that being said, though, you've got to say that smart people are still in this game. They just can't afford to get picked off needlessly like before, because they're edging so further behind on gold. They're just hemorrhaging gold at this point.
Yeah, Samix is just coming out of stealth around the corner of blue buff, and Shook does want the steal to happen. And Atroto is actually on the front lines. He's looking for this pick to happen. Uses the safeguard, so he can't quite insect him at the moment. Immediately turned into a Skrill. Safeguard. In fact, the Dark Passage comes out, saving his life. He's incredibly tanky, but I'm not sure if he wants to re-engage. He is fairly low. If they could finally maybe find Jerome and pop his ultimate, it might be an ideal scenario. But they are just buying time for Exeter down at the bot lane, and they realize this to go for an engage themselves. Ultimate comes out from the unstoppable force into Jerome, but Youngbuck now in there with the Let's Bounce, again turned into a Skrill, and the Dark Passage saves his life. The re-engage from Shook, now realizing that Zed is coming back into the action. Jerome is still there, but his AP carries and his AD carries just can't get the damage out. Samex has just stealthed up, trying to get out, but the oracles will reveal him and will eventually fall. Double kill coming down to Reckless. Great sieging ability on the mid lane. Should be able to at least pick up an inhibitor.
Oh, this is just a masterclass on how to play Thresh from Unlimited. He didn't even have box for the first half of that fight, but a beautifully placed Flay took away the unstoppable force, and Artratos, who safeguarded onto Malphite, knocked them both back, allowing Caitlyn to move to the back of the fight, allowing Reckless to be freed up and deal out lots of damage and dish it out. Then threw in the Dark Passage, which allowed Zac to escape by the skin of his teeth as well. It was just so strong play from Thresh. At the end, that's going to be a 2-for-0, and again, just more gold going into their favor.
And I can't stress enough how AD carries would be nothing without their support. If they had no healing, if they didn't have them in the laning phase, then the AD carry would never get into the position he is in now. So hopefully when he does indeed join Fnatic, they gave him the same love that Copenhagen Wolves is building around him, because Unlimited does such a stellar job at keeping him alive, and the last team fight was a perfect example.
Yeah, it wasn't just the fact that he kept Reckless alive, he just helped everybody. It was unbelievable because it was a beautiful unstoppable force. Seeing that a couple players were holding hands clumped together, you just had Jerome going ham right into the heart of Copenhagen Wolves. But after that, Unlimited did everything perfectly. So well played. And you can see this farm as well from Reckless, 253 to 188. That is a big difference. But again, it's kudos to his team. Putting down the presence on the map allows him to go and farm top when no one else is close. Doesn't want to get too close here because this tower is going to be falling down very soon. The Thresh hook comes in. Does Unlimited want to be in this position though? Yes, they do want to be in a position because they're going to be hard engaging with the box. This should buy up enough time for Youngbuck and also Shook to come in from the side. They may not catch Artratos, but they definitely have the bullseye on Malphite's head, or do they? They're just going to let him run away and push the top lane instead.
Yeah, however, they have popped a big ultimate, but Reckless comes back for him, interrupting the recall, knowing exactly where he would be. Cheesewheel comes out, and Strom, again, attempting to... In fact, he's teleporting out. Reckless doesn't have any CC to stop him, and then he just teleports back to base.
It's like a troll moment there. Smooth moves. But in doing so, you know, Reckless and Unlimited are half thinking about starting this Baron off, because they've got Jov coming up. They can see that Zed is being a lot of harassment onto Artratos, so it's going to keep them busy at the bot lane, and in fact picks up that kill. That is going to definitely secure Baron, you have to feel, because no one's even close from Smart People. They don't have their smite up, their jungler is dead. This is going to be a Baron going from bad to worse. The question, Pulse, can Smart People even go up against the Baroned up Copenhagen Wolves right now? They haven't been faring too well in normal 5v5s.
Yeah, the answer is probably a no, Messers. In fact, the Surrender boat just comes in. They were like, well, there's no way we can fight them. And Demoralization comes out, and GG well played. So that will be actually some of the rest of the series, 3-1. But Smart People still pulling back a very impressive victory in the third game. Sad it didn't go on to the fifth game, but still expertly played by both of these teams.
Yeah, you've got to give huge props to both teams for making this a real spectacle, and end-to-end action, specifically those last two games, were just unbelievable. You know, even though Smart People did lose 3-1, which on paper looks like a fairly crushing defeat, I gotta say, it doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, Pulse, and very enjoyable to cast alongside you again.